July 2024, Catalina Gutierrez made plans to go to the mall with her boyfriend and some friends. Before she left, she asked her mother's permission and borrowed the family car. The drive should have taken 15 minutes. But when an hour passed and Catalina hadn't shown up, her friends started to worry. They couldn't reach her on the phone. Her family went to the police, and within hours, they found Catalina. She'd been killed, and her body was in her mother's car, not far from home. The investigation led police to someone nobody expected, and in today's episode, we are going to uncover everything that happened. Catalina Gutierrez was born in February 2003 in Gutierrez, Argentina. She was the youngest daughter of Marcelo and Eleonora, and she had an older sister named Lucia. From the very beginning, this girl was just something special, honey. Catalina was smart as a whip, always curious, always wanting to learn new things. She loved to sing, play that guitar, and was absolutely crazy about dogs. Her family had a beloved dog named Kitty who was part of the family for 16 years. When Kitty passed away in June 2023, Catalina was heartbroken. She honored her dog with a beautiful tattoo and a touching tribute on social media. Her daddy, Marcelo, was a well-respected architect in Cordoba. That's the second biggest city in Argentina. He built himself quite a career, led important projects all across the country. And Catalina, she admired her father so much, wanted to follow right in his footsteps. The two of them had this special bond over music too. Marcelo would play guitar and Catalina would sing, and they'd post videos together. She even started performing at bars and restaurants. The whole family was so proud of her. Catalina was also very close with her mama, Eleonora, and her sister, Lucia. They had this beautiful, strong bond. The four of them were just a tight-knit, loving family. Catalina was active on social media, posting about her life, her travels, funny trends, and even though she wasn't trying to become famous, people just loved her. She ended up with 115,000 followers on Instagram and 47,000 on TikTok. Started getting brand deals for cameras, jewelry, clothing. She was becoming a little influencer, and she was happy about it. After finishing high school at the 25 de Mayo School, Catalina enrolled at the National University of Cordoba in 2021 to study architecture, just like her daddy. She threw herself into her studies with such enthusiasm. Her friends said she was responsible, focused, intelligent, just an amazing person all around. In early 2024, she met a young man named Ezequiel Garcia at the university. They started dating, and according to everyone who knew them, they were very much in love, very happy together. At that same university, Catalina met another student named Nestor Aguilar Soto. He went by Tito or Nuni with his friends. He was 21, same age as Catalina, and he'd come from Bariloche, Argentina, to study architecture in Cordoba back in 2021. When Catalina learned that Nestor didn't have any family in Cordoba, well, her kind heart just opened right up. See, that's the type of person she was. She saw someone who was alone, far from home, and she wanted to help. She started inviting him to family gatherings, holidays, birthdays, made sure he never felt lonely. And pretty soon, Nestor wasn't just Catalina's classmate, he became part of the Gutierrez family. Her parents, Marcelo and Eleonora, welcomed him with open arms, treated him like their own son. Nestor and Catalina became close friends. They'd work on architecture projects together, study together, spend hours at the Gutierrez home doing coursework. Sometimes he'd stay so late that he'd just sleep over in the guest room. The family didn't think twice about it. Every single morning, Catalina would drive to Nestor's apartment in the Jardine neighborhood and pick him up so they could go to classes together. Rain or shine, there she was. That was just Catalina, always thinking of others. To everyone watching, they looked like the best of friends. Two architecture students helping each other through their studies. The family was happy their daughter had such a good friend. But honey, sometimes the people we trust most are hiding things we just can't see. July 17, 2024 was supposed to be a fun night. It was a Wednesday, and Catalina and her friends had plans to go bowling at the Patio Olmos shopping mall in Cordoba. They were celebrating Friends Day, an Argentinian holiday where you show appreciation for your friends. Even though Catalina was 21 years old, she still respected her mama and daddy. So before leaving, she asked her mother, Eleonora, for permission to borrow the car and go out. Her mama said no at first. Crime had been picking up in the area, and she worried about her daughter being out at night. But Catalina promised she'd be with friends and would send updates throughout the night like she always did. So Mama gave her blessing, and Catalina borrowed her mama's gray Renault Clio. Around 9 p.m., Catalina left home. The security cameras at their gated community captured her leaving. Those would be the last images of Catalina alive. At 9:12 p.m., she sent a voice message to her boyfriend Ezekiel saying, "My love, I'm going there to play bowling at Patio Olmos." She told him she'd be there in a few minutes. It was supposed to be about a 15-minute drive. The plan was for Catalina to pick up Nestor on the way, just like she did every day for classes. But 15 minutes passed, then 30, then an hour, and Catalina never showed up. Her friends started calling. Ring, ring, ring. Nothing. No answer. Ezekiel called her sister Lucia. "Is Catalina back home? Maybe car trouble?" Lucia said no, and immediately knew something was wrong. When their daddy, Marcelo, got home around 10 p.m., the whole family was panicking. Nobody could reach her. They rushed to the police station to file a missing person report. Ezekiel and the friends came too. Here's where technology helped. Lucia and Catalina had set up location sharing on their phones months earlier. Smart girls. Lucia checked it, and Catalina's phone was pinging in a neighborhood called Ampliacion Kennedy, about 2 kilometers from home. Not at the mall. Police sent a team immediately. What those officers found just tears me up inside. There in a vacant lot was that gray Renault Clio, partially burned. When they opened the back door, there was Catalina, gone from this world. The inside reeked of rubbing alcohol. Every seat was soaked. Someone had poured alcohol everywhere trying to start a fire, but they'd closed all the doors and windows. Without oxygen, the fire suffocated and went out. The medical examiner said Catalina died from asphyxiation, from not being able to breathe. She had injuries on her face and arms, defensive wounds. She'd tried to fight back. The examiner believed that by the time the fire started, Catalina was already unconscious. She didn't suffer through that part, at least. But here's what caught police attention immediately. Nothing was stolen. Her purse, phone, jewelry, all still there. This wasn't a robbery. This was personal. Someone who knew Catalina did this. Police started calling in everyone close to Catalina. And one of the first to show up, Nestor Soto, came in crying, devastated, told Catalina's parents he'd do everything to help, stood with the family, grieving alongside them. Nobody suspected him at first. Why would they? He was practically family. But detectives noticed Nestor seemed more nervous than the others, hands shaking, looking around. When they asked about that night, his story kept changing, so they asked politely if they could check his phone. Nestor handed it right over. When they checked that GPS data, it showed Nestor had been at the exact spot where Catalina's body was found. Police brought him back in. "Where were you that night?" First, he said home all evening. Then suddenly he remembered going to martial arts class around 8 p.m. "Did you talk to Catalina that day?" No, didn't even know she was going out. But that was a lie. Catalina's friends had already told police Nestor was supposed to come bowling, that Catalina was picking him up. When confronted, Nestor started shaking harder. After long minutes of silence, he put his head in his hands and admitted it. Said he was responsible for what happened to Catalina. Started talking about jealousy, how Catalina was with Ezequiel and not him, how she was the love of his life. Detective stopped him, told him he needed a lawyer. Nestor Soto was arrested right there. When Catalina's family heard Nestor confessed, they couldn't process it, couldn't wrap their minds around it. Nestor, the boy they'd welcomed into their home, the boy who sat at their dinner table for holidays, the boy Catalina picked up every single morning, the boy they'd treated like a son. It didn't make sense. Some family members were so shocked they wondered if maybe he was having some kind of breakdown. Maybe he was so traumatized that he'd invented a false confession, because nothing about Nestor had ever suggested he could do something like this. Catalina's parents were devastated on two levels. Not only had they lost their baby girl, but the person responsible was someone they'd loved and trusted completely. Her sister Lucia said Catalina had never mentioned Nestor having romantic feelings for her. As far as Catalina knew, they were just friends, though some mutual friends later said they'd known Nestor had feelings for her and that Catalina had gently turned him down. But Catalina never told her family about it. Maybe she didn't want to make things awkward. Maybe she thought she could handle it herself. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife. As the investigation continued, police pieced together exactly what happened, using security cameras, phone records, and physical evidence. Catalina left home around 9 p.m., sent that voice message at 9:12. Since she was running late, investigators believe she asked Nestor to wait outside so they could leave quickly. But somehow, Nestor convinced her to come inside his apartment. Security cameras captured Catalina getting out of her car and walking into his building, walking in alive, trusting her friend. Inside that apartment, something terrible happened. Based on what came out at trial, Nestor later claimed they got into an argument. He said Catalina slapped him, which made him explode. Whether that's true or not, we may never know. The only person who knows the truth is Nestor. What we do know is that Nestor attacked Catalina, beat her, struck her face multiple times with his fists. When she tried to fight back, she got those defensive wounds on her arms trying to protect herself. Then, when she was weakened, he strangled her, used what's called a rear naked choke, a martial arts technique he'd learned in his classes. Wrapped his arm around her neck from behind and squeezed until she couldn't breathe anymore, until her heart stopped. At 10:20 p.m., cameras captured Nestor coming out of his building, carrying Catalina's body. He put her in the back seat of her own mother's car. At 10:22 p.m., cameras tracked that gray Renault driving through Cordoba, Nestor behind the wheel. He drove about 3 kilometers to that vacant lot in Ampliation Kennedy. There, he poured rubbing alcohol all over the car interior, all over Catalina's body, trying to destroy evidence. He lit it on fire, but closed all the doors and windows, so the fire went out. Then he went back to his apartment, changed clothes, threw his bloody clothes in the washing machine. And when Catalina's family called him frantic, desperate, he played the concerned friend, went to help them search, cried with Marcelo and Eleonora, even went out in the car with Ezequiel looking for her, all while knowing exactly what he'd done, knowing exactly where Catalina was. That's cold-blooded deception. Police searched Nestor's apartment and found everything they needed. A ring belonging to Catalina that she'd lost during the struggle, strands of her hair throughout the apartment, and in his washing machine, the clothes he'd worn that night when he killed her. But one mystery remained. A woman near the vacant lot told police she'd heard multiple voices that night arguing about whether to set fire to the car. Security footage reportedly showed a second vehicle arriving after Nestor a man getting out and talking to him. Police asked if he had help. Nestor insisted he acted alone, said he walked home, but the timeline showed he made it back in 4 minutes. The distance was almost 3 kilometers. That's impossible on foot. Someone likely gave him a ride. But Nestor never admitted to an accomplice. To this day, he's the only one charged. Once this case hit the news, and honey, it was everywhere because Catalina had all those followers. Other young women came forward with their own stories. One woman posted on social media that she'd gone to high school with Nestor, said he stalked her throughout their entire time at school. She reported it to school administration over and over. You know what they did? Nothing. Another woman told reporters about a school camping trip, said Nestor waited until everyone was asleep, came to her tent, and tried to force himself on her. She fought back, screamed for help, and he ran away. She reported it. Again, nothing was done. 2 different women, 2 separate incidents, both involving predatory behavior, and authorities did nothing to protect them. One woman said she'll regret forever not going to the police. She believes if she'd filed official charges, maybe they would have stopped him. Maybe Catalina would still be alive. There was a clear pattern of behavior toward women, and that pattern was ignored by people who should have known better. After his arrest in July 2024, Nestor was held at Booer prison. His trial was set for December, but his lawyer quit in November. He hired a new attorney, Angela Burgos Nino, and the trial got pushed to February 2025. His defense tried delaying again with a psychiatric evaluation, claiming he was going through an acute emotional episode. But doctors found Nestor fit for trial. So in early March 2025, almost 8 months after he killed Catalina, the trial finally began. The charges were serious. Femicide, that's homicide, aggravated by gender violence, and homicide criminis causa, killing to hide another crime. If convicted, he'd face life in prison. On the first day, Catalina's mother, Eleonora, took the stand. With Nestor sitting just feet away, she spoke directly to him. "I opened the doors of my house, Nestor," she said, her voice breaking. "We welcomed you. We loved you. We treated you like our own son." She said there's only one person who can forgive him, and he is not there. She meant Catalina. Only Catalina could forgive him, and Catalina was gone. The courtroom went silent except for people crying. Over the next days, Catalina's sister, Lucia, and boyfriend, Ezekiel, testified about Nestor's jealous behavior. 3 of Catalina's friends took the stand and all told the same story. Nestor was intense with female friends, demanding, possessive, jealous when they spent time with boyfriends, but with male friends, completely normal. One friend, Ornella, said Nestor went through phases with different girls, first with Luna, then with her, then with Catalina. He'd form these intense friendships, then get angry when the girls didn't give him constant attention. Luna testified that when she got a boyfriend, Nestor's behavior changed, made her uncomfortable. He told her he didn't like her relationship. She eventually distanced herself, and then he did the same thing to Catalina. Another friend described Nestor's friendship with Catalina as one of possession. He'd message her if Catalina didn't reply quick enough. The prosecutor, Marcello Siccardi, called Nestor a wolf in sheep's clothing, someone who appeared gentle on the outside but was dangerous underneath. Forensic psychiatrists testified that Nestor had narcissistic, obsessive, impulsive, and controlling traits. They said he had good social skills, which is why people liked him at first, but he had inner emptiness and a constant need for attention. When he didn't get it, he became frustrated and aggressive. The full autopsy report was revealed. Catalina was strangled with a rope. She'd been beaten in the face, gagged, and her wrists were bound with tape. The violence happened in a short period, showing clear intention to kill her quickly. It was extremely hard for the family to hear these details in court. Then Nestor himself took the stand. He said he wanted to ask for forgiveness, said, "I am responsible for her not being here. I am a killer." But then he said he'd defend himself against being called a femicide, against accusations that he planned it. He claimed he and Catalina got into an argument in his apartment, said she slapped him, which made him explode. He said he hit her back, they fought, and he put her in a headlock and strangled her. He cried as he told this story. But honey, those tears were for himself. The prosecutor tore his story apart, said Nestor killed Catalina to cover up the beating he'd given her, that he knew she'd report him, so he decided to silence her permanently. On March 19, 2025, after hearing all the testimony and seeing all the evidence, the jury reached their verdict. Of the 10 jury members, 8 voted guilty on femicide. 7 voted guilty on criminis causa. The majority had spoken. Nestor Soto was guilty on both counts. The judges agreed. They found that evidence showed a clear pattern of gender-based violence, that Nestor had exercised psychological control over Catalina, that his behavior toward women was different from his behavior toward men. The sentence was handed down: prisión perpetua, life in prison. Before sentencing, Eleanor spoke one more time. She looked at Nestor and said, "I have an extra place at the table, an extra bed, an extra seat in the car, all the love I can't give to Catalina anymore." Then directly to him, "You didn't just kill Catalina. You killed me, Marcelo, and Lucia. You killed our dreams and future. My daughter is in a box because of you." She asked him to look at her. He kept his head down, wouldn't meet her eyes. When given a final chance to speak, Nestor stayed silent. Catalina's father, Marcelo, also spoke, talked about the unbearable pain, called her an excellent daughter, the perfect student, so full of life. After the verdict, the family said that while the trial was painful, they finally felt peace. Justice had been served. The court later released detailed reasoning. They wrote that Nestor maintained a relationship of domination over Catalina, that he exercised subtle but constant psychological violence, felt entitled to control her decisions, that 3 other women had similar stories, but he never acted that way with male friends. This proved discriminatory conduct based on gender. As of February 2026, Nestor Soto remains in prison, serving life, exactly where he belongs. Asterisk, asterisk, warm but firm, final wisdom, asterisk, asterisk. I want you to think about something, sweethearts. Those girls who tried to report Nestor's behavior in high school, nobody listened. Nobody stopped him. How many young women have to speak up before someone protects them? Catalina's case became a symbol in Argentina's fight against gender violence. We need to believe women when they say someone's making them uncomfortable. We need to act before tragedy strikes. If someone doesn't respect your no, if someone gets angry when you just want friendship, if someone tries to control you or makes you feel unsafe, that's not love, that's danger. Real love respects boundaries. Real friendship doesn't turn violent. Catalina Gutierrez should be 22 years old right this minute, should be graduating with her architecture degree, should be working alongside her daddy, should be posting on Instagram, laughing with Ezekiel, hugging her mama. Instead, her family visits a grave. They keep an extra place at the table. They honor her memory by telling her story and fighting for justice. And Nestor Soto sits in a prison cell for life. He took a beautiful young woman's life because she didn't love him the way he wanted. Remember Catalina. Remember that kind heart. That girl who invited a lonely boy into her family because she thought he needed help. And remember, we all have a responsibility to listen, to act, to protect each other. Rest in peace, sweet Catalina. Your story is being told, and you won't be forgotten. This is Grandma Kitty, and Lord have mercy, this one was hard to tell. But these stories need telling. Give this video a like if you believe in justice for Catalina. Leave a comment about this case. Subscribe for more true crime told with respect and heart. Take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time, my darlings.